can't recall.
Oh, so that was one of his questions about so say you have that set up, like 10 GMBs and they're linking to one site, and I actually have some input on this, but the one or two of those GMBs linking to that site get suspended. Are those at risk? Can you re-verify them? Should you use different addresses and phone numbers? Just, what's that look like? Now, I'm assuming that he's referring to a non-legitimate business.
Yeah.
Because if it's legitimate, then you go and you just get those re-verified and take care of that.
Go through the process.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's interesting. So I have a true story here. One which someone I was working with put an immense amount of GMBs to one site. Mm-hmm. And they wanted to build this, make it look like a much larger brand than what it was. It was essentially a lead gen. We were getting kickbacks on the back end of deals. And they all just died. And this scenario predated any of the volatility we're witnessing right now. So it was, in my opinion, I think it was a dangerous move to have them all lumped on one. I mean, it's the easiest way to develop a footprint with Google is to say, hey Google, here's all of these locations.
Here's the thing though is, the last episode we had talked about the kind of churn and burn method. And when you just, you had said you like to kind of nurture those listings and do something with them, I just like to throw them out there.
Well, I would now.
Yeah, exactly.
Previously I was, when all of them weren't dying like crazy, I'd say drop 500 or 1,000 if you can do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my opinion changed.
But the interesting thing was from when I was building my GMBs, having 20 GMBs linked to one site was a huge authority signal. And you would get a lot more exposure. So for my churn and burn strategy, that was kind of the concept. I knew if I threw out 20 at this cost to one site with the proper optimization on the site, I would get those returns back within the first 30, 60 days.
Sure.
As opposed to if I just threw one out with a little sub-site, it really wouldn't have the same amount of authority.
That makes sense. That's a pretty good point.
That was an interesting thing when it comes to... But yeah, long story short, if you're linking a bunch of fake GMBs to the same site, they're all at risk.
I think it almost needs to be a forked conversation. In my scenario, the guy wanted to build a power brand. Mm-hmm. He wanted to build an authority brand, and it just,
with fake listings, it's hard to get authority when you're fake.
It's oxymoronic, I know.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is you're building a footprint. And if you're leveraging it for the short term gain, that's awesome. I support that. That's a really good point. But if it goes back to what your business model is. It seems like we're having this conversation every episode.
Are you making money or not?
Are you making money or not? And what's your long-term goal? Do you want to build this into a multi-million-dollar brand? Then maybe you should look at some cheap options on getting a real address in the city and do it as legitimately as possible.
Yeah.
And maybe you should go and make sure your DBA and stuff is sorted out, so even if that address gets pinged, you can go and get a reconsideration pushed through. There's things like that. I mean, what's the long-term goal? But if you want to do anything long-term with anything Black Hat, then that's already a stretch. But
yeah,
I definitely want to isolate stuff as much as possible. And again, it's all about making the stuff look real. If people need to also consider how much more powerful the reporting systems are now and stuff for people to just dime you out to Google.
Oh yeah.
Competitors and stuff
I could go. Yeah.
Competitors are savages.
And I mean, we know how to find fake listings in our niches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I could go hit a bunch of them right now in 20 in 10 minutes or something.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I know I know most agencies do it. It's something that doesn't get talked about a lot because when you're in more gray hat environments, everyone acts like, reporting is frowned upon and you shouldn't report. And, I think there's still adults in our community that say dumb shit like snitches get stitches. It's like, yeah.
They also make money.
At the old SEO throwdown, where all the SEO mobsters go to handle the white hat snitches. Like, okay. But having said that, I know so many agencies that employ any tactic to win, which I'm good with.
I mean, that's marketing.
But they'll report the hell out of competitors, and it is what it is.
It is, yeah.
It's a tool in the toolbox. So that's another thing to consider is like, does the site look real? Does the listing look real? Are you going to run across a competitor who just knows you don't have a business at the address you're showing? Or, I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff. We have a pretty good relationship with a lot of our clients. We also network with a lot of business owners.
Yeah.
And we also own, well, not as much anymore, but we own these other businesses where, like, we've had competitors just straight call and be confrontational about lead gen listings, or, listings that were in place to support, like, back-end deals we had and stuff. I mean, there's cases, like, literally, like, the owner of that business would call and just be like very confrontational and aggressive. So it's like there's like a lot of different dynamics to consider, and as the business owners have gotten, at least in my experience, maybe I'm just working with better clients, but like I've noticed a lot of business owners are getting more and more sophisticated. I feel like a lot of the marketers I work with have gotten a lot more sophisticated. Like, as that sophistication grows, consumers and other business owners, they're going to get better as they read the news and see that there's like a fake GMB epidemic, or, like there's just the talk around town is fake GMBs. They're going to become more sophisticated in identifying them and reporting them and, what have you. So there's a lot of considerations with anything black hat. So
I just don't recommend looking at black hat as a long-term strategy. I mean, I've definitely used black hat tactics to push in a start to get those quick returns and meld into a long-term strategy from that. But if it's either churn and burn or it's long-term, you can't really push them together. And Google does updates all the time. They're always going to be updating, so either you're doing something that has been working for a long time now, and that's how we probably know it's going to continue working, or you're doing something that recently came out that is some type of loophole that you can expect to get closed up in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years.
Exactly.
And those are the two real categories. Like Google just did, to segue to some news, Google just did a major core update. They still say it's rolling out slow. We don't really see too much really happening